I'm Nelson Davis, executive producer of Making It. There's one constant challenge we all face as entrepreneurs, and that is to keep the cash flow steady. But it's the old catch-22. Until you're successful, how can you get a bank to loan you money? And how are you going to rise to success if you can't find the money to get your business up and running? Well, on today's show, we'll meet entrepreneurs who didn't have traditional assets or collateral, so they needed help with a creative approach to financing. We'll see what they did to get the money and where they got it. Their stories right now on Making It. Making It, featuring inspiring personal stories of struggle, triumph, and success from America's small business communities.
Hello and welcome to Making It. I'm Lynette Romero.
And I'm Emmett Miller. Thanks for joining us.
How does a teenage immigrant who can't speak English with almost no formal education build a $30 million company? By picking up other people's trash and throwaways.
Gabriel Garcia was the owner of Lumar Metals, a large recycling facility in Los Angeles. Some 2,000 tons of material are processed there every month, including brass, steel, copper, aluminum, nickel, titanium, and cadmium.
The metals are then used in everything from computer parts to car frames to the kitchen equipment used at El Torito's and the Cheesecake Factory.
But the road to his success has been dirty, dangerous, and sometimes dramatic. It was a journey that he would not have made but for a fortuitous meeting with a man in a coffee shop.
It takes a lot less energy to melt down aluminum scrap than it is to come up with a scrap from the ground, from mines. So it makes me feel good that we are doing something for the environmental. Whatever we recycle is not going to wind up on the streets or going to wind up in the ocean. We recycle our own oil. We recycle anything that we can. It is very important for everybody to acknowledge that and to do their part in recycling.
In 1968, Gabriel Garcia left this humble shack and family behind. The 19-year-old traveled to California, armed with only his 5 years of education from Mexico.
And at that time, I was on a restaurant early in the morning having some coffee and breakfast when Mr. Samuel Camel, which he had came here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, came in looking for a worker. And he hired me on the spot. At that time, my biggest problem was to communicate with him. I didn't speak English, so it was a top priority to work hard so he won't keep me on the company.
He quickly learned the language and the business, and by 1972, Gabriel had made himself invaluable to Mr. Kimmel's recycling yard. However, life would take a somber turn when his mentor suddenly passed.
The family called me together with the wife, the widow, and the son, and they offered me the opportunity to run the yard for them. They need someone to run the business. It was a scary time in life when you realize all of a sudden you are going to be the head of a company, plus the sadness of losing someone that has shown you not only a good faith, but some love. And you kind of want to help.
In just a few years, he'd return that good faith in kind and in profits, but Garcia wanted more.
I offered them to buy him out, and they refused to sell me. And because I was a partner, only 50%, I could not obligate anybody to sell me, so we went up on a dissolution of a partnership, and I went on my own and started my own company, which at that time was Gabriel Metal and Alloys Company, based in North Long Beach. At a very small yard, and it was basically me and one employee.
Gabriel wanted to acquire another recycling business in the mid-1980s, but found it difficult to get financing. Comerica Bank listened.
I basically sat down with them and I explained to them what I could do with financing. I showed them my track record that I have continually grown year after year, and they took a chance to back me up, and that's how we were managed to grow.
Helping to fuel that growth is Garcia's considerable size and rare urban location.
The fact that I have a yard and it's a large piece of land in the middle of the city, Compton, close to Los Angeles, close to the freeways, we have nearly 4 acres of property here. So that allows us the opportunity to buy material from walk-in trading, from customers, Also, a lot of peddlers or small dealers that pick up the metal in different parts of the city find easier to come to my yard because they don't have to drive far away.
Once it arrives, the metals go on a special journey.
From the minute it comes to our yard, it gets designated to specific areas and it gets processed, which means cutting it with a torch or with a hydraulic shear until we completely separate them and package it for the customers. So the metal has a trip going through our yard. It goes through many processes and situations.
After it's bundled, the materials are shipped as far away as the East Coast and even overseas.
Japan has been a great buyer of material for us. Korea has come very strongly in the last years. We have also China now, a major player on the markets.
Because Lumar Metals trades in different currencies from around the world, their relationship with Comerica Bank is essential.
We have taken advantage of the fact that the bank is a business bank oriented and the fact that they know international business. When we have to deal with letters of credits, we have to deal with guarantees of payment to other companies, the bank has always been there. We have a very good line of credit with them. We haven't had any problems as far as growth. They benefit from our growth and we benefit from doing business with them. So we have been a good partners.
Gabriel also has another partnership with his brother Guillermo and his daughter Vanessa, who says she's a chip off the old block.
Our sense of humor is a lot the same. We get along. We're both stubborn, so it's, when we lock horns, it's like we're fighting each other a lot. So, but I love being around my father a lot, and it's enjoyable for me.
And with profits approaching $30 million in 2005, Garcia says Lumar Metals is poised to do big numbers.
I think we want to go up to the $40–50 million sales in years as we do brokerage, and we're going to start traveling more, finding new customers. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for this industry, and it's a tremendous opportunity for people that is willing to recycle.
It's incredible, taking things that other people throw away and basically making them new again.
It's a great father and daughter business, too.
Yeah, it is.
Great.
That's fantastic. Gabriel's recyclables travel the world. For example, metals that go into computers that come from the U.S. are melted down and sent to China, Japan, and then Singapore, and then they're sent back to plants that make computers here.
Gabriel Garcia was able to get enough financing from Comerica Bank to buy the acres of land he needed to expand his business. In Secrets of Success, author and attorney Cliff Ennico has tips on how to ask strangers for money and get it.
So you're going to ask some total strangers to give you money to get your small business off the ground. How much you're going to ask for, and more importantly, what are you going to do with the money once you get it? There's two big mistakes that you can make here. One is to ask for too much money, and the other is to ask for not enough. Let's take the first scenario. You come to me and you say, hey, Cliff, I want to get $1 million and I'm going to start up a grocery store. You need $1 million to start a grocery store? What kind of groceries are you selling in the store? I'd be definitely questioning you on that. But it's also a sin to ask for not enough. Let's say you're starting a media business, an internet.com company, and you come up to me and say, Cliff, I just want $500,000 to get this off the ground. Well, to do any kind of a site with any kind of a cool content, I know you're going to need at least $2 or $3 million. So I'm wondering, even if I give you that $500,000, where's the rest of that going to come from? You have to get your priorities straight. You got to know what you need now, but you also need to know where you need to be in a year or two, and make sure you ask for enough to get you through those first 2 years of operations.
Cliff Ennico offers legal services to small businesses, and you can reach him at his website, which is www.cliffennico.com. And for more Secrets of Success, you can log on to our website at makingittv.com.
Coming up next, entrepreneur Ezekiel Patton. He sold oil to former dictator Manuel Noriega to lubricate the locks of the Panama Canal. Back in a minute.
Capturing the excitement of small business in America, Making It is being brought to you by the Disneyland Resort. You're invited to the happiest homecoming on earth. Comerica Bank. We listen, we understand, we make it work. And by Sempra Energy, a Fortune 500 energy services company committed to building a diverse supplier base.
And welcome back to Making It. About 80% of small businesses use some kind of credit. Credit cards, business loans, lines of credit, all of that's according to the most recent survey that's done by the Federal Reserve Bank.
But for some, that financing is trickier than for others. What do you do if you sell, say, energy? And even though you may have yearly gross revenues of $13 million, the only tangible assets that you have are 2 trucks.
This is the story of Ezekiel Patton, owner of Patton Energy Enterprises. He sells petroleum, propane, and other fuels. But he doesn't own a refinery. He's a petroleum marketer. And at one point, he worked for another fuel broker, and their biggest client was Manuel Noriega.
That's because it takes a lot of fuel to operate the Panama Canal. So Noriega's downfall nearly spelled the downfall of Zeke's career, and that's when he decided to go in a new direction, opening his own business. It was a move that eventually required more financing than his credit cards allowed. Fortunately for Zeke, he found Comerica Bank.
I saw how the major players did the same thing that the small guys did. They all did the same way, but the small guy had a little flair to it. Like the small guy can be more responsive. It's like the mongoose and the cobra. The cobra is a big corporation. The cobra moves slow. The mongoose moves fast. The small guy is the mongoose. The Unical and the chevrons are the cobra. And who wins that battle every time? The mongoose. And that's why I decided to be a marketer, but I can do it faster.
Ezekiel Patton started his oil marketing company in 1990 when he saw the writing on the wall that his position with the small oil firm he worked for was coming to an end.
We were selling oil to the Panama Canal for Noriega. He got tired of buying his oil, as he called it, from the gringos, so he wanted to buy it from us. And we got this long telex from Noriega saying he wanted us to sell him this oil. We got the oil for him. Matter of fact, Venezuela sold us the oil. We started delivering all the oil to the locks for the Panama Canal. And business was going very well. But when Bush snatched Noriega up, took him away, the new guy came in, kicked us out, brought the old company back.
It was then that Ezekiel hung out his own shingle in Sun Valley, California.
We are petroleum marketers. We IT consultants and environmental consultants. We buy gasoline from Valero Refinery, Tosco, and some from BP, and some from Chevron, and some from ConocoPhillips. They sell us the unbranded product because we're unbranded. Unbranded means it doesn't have Unical or Chevron on it. We buy our lubricants from Chevron, from Exxon, and also Unical, which is now ConocoPhillips. And we sell them to people like Honda, Toyota on that side, the LA City government, the state government, the CHP, Department of Transportation, and the federal government and Border Patrol.
Zeke was resourceful in getting his business off the ground.
I think I had 10 credit cards, maybe 9. But back in the day, they would give you credit lines of $25,000 and $30,000 with a credit card. And I had like 6 or either 8 of those that I used, a total of $80,000 to start my business. That's what I used. I ran it there for almost 8 years. I had a warehouse with tons of oil. Then the major earthquake came. In '94, I came back from Vegas, walked in my door that Monday morning, I had oil on my floor 4 inches thick. We've been stacking 55-gallon drums 6 high, and the 5th and 6th layer fell, and they burst. Then we started on stacking drums 2 high.
Patton Energy Enterprises has since moved locations, incorporated, and has expanded its services. The company has 16 employees and has grossed $13 million in 2004.
We were selling natural gas, marketing that to the major utilities in New Orleans, Louisiana, SMUD up in Sacramento, PG&E out of San Francisco, Southern California Gas, SDG&E. We were selling them natural gas. And then my supply was Enron. And of course, you know what happened to Enron. When Enron bit the dust and I lost $75,000, I decided I had to do something to replace that income. So I decided to try IT. And so I did an agreement with a company. It's called a teaming agreement with IT, a company called EBI Solutions. I did the same thing for environmental. And then we became 8A. 8A is a federal program where if you are a small disadvantaged business, you got to be a minority person to be an 8A firm, or you can be a non-minority, but you got to say you're disadvantaged economically, meaning that your net worth is less than $450,000.
Zeke's next business step was an attempt to purchase his own oil refinery.
We tried to buy the Shell refinery up in Bakersfield that was up for sale last year, and they finally sold that thing to Flying J Petroleum Company. We wanted to buy it because if you're 8A and you become a manufacturer, you're really a plus for the government. Then they could buy it directly from me. Now I have to buy it from a manufacturer and resell it to the government.
Zeke knew he needed to secure additional financing, but it was difficult because his office equipment and 2 trucks alone were not enough to secure a $1 million line of credit.
But Co-America came along, understood what I was doing. It took a long time to do this deal now, much longer than I wanted to do, but they did the deal. They did the deal right, because I think they saw something in me. Here's a guy that's been around since 1990, has never written a bad check, has made this business work, and we don't know how he did it. The money in the bank is his money. It's my stock I sold to make this thing work when I didn't have a line of credit for almost 2 years and a half. All my stock money is now drained. Banks want you to be able to prove to them that you can pay my money back. I simply say, when I do an invoice for $20,000 to the Homeland Security, they're going to pay that invoice. You got to trust me on the receivable side. That's what the other banks were unwilling to do.
Zeke hopes that when he is ready to retire, he will be able to pass the business on to his children. His daughter is VP of Human Resources, and his son is VP of Operations.
Coaching your son and your daughter in the business is the hardest part, because they are your kids, and they are not really, in their eyesight, employees. They're your kids first, employees second. But to me, they're employees first and kids second. So when you got that kind of interaction, it's always a challenge. It's always a challenge. But I enjoy the challenge. Don't look forward to it, but I enjoy the challenge.
Well, he's not done yet. He might still get that refinery. I hope he does.
And keeping it in the family, but boy, business is business, right?
Sure, well.
You're employed before you're my kid.
I'll never know.
But Dad, the high price of gas is squeezing Zeke's business, just like the customers who have to pay more at the pump. Zeke has to pay more up front to the refinery. So even though the numbers are higher, his profit margin remains the same.
And coming up next, we'll tell you how you can contact the entrepreneurs who've been on today's show. And our studio guest is a vice president of Comerica Bank, Donald Kinsey. He's here to tell us about the opportunities for small businesses, so don't go away. And here's how you can get in touch with the entrepreneurs who've been on today's show. You can reach Gabriel Garcia at the Lumar Industrial Metals Company. Their phone number is 323-636-0156. And you can contact Ezekiel Patton at Patton Energy Enterprises. His phone number is 310-665-9100. And now here's Lynette with today's studio guest, Mr. Donald Kinsey.
Thanks, Emmett. Donald Kinsey is Vice President and Community Business Banking Officer at Comerica Bank, and his job is to promote financial services to businesses here in Southern California. Mr. Kinsey, welcome to Making It. We appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you.
Now, of course, we know that Comerica is one of the premier financial institutions. Can you talk about the various type of loans that you have available to your customers?
Well, at Comerica, we offer lines of credit for working capital, term loans for the purchase of equipment, real estate, other businesses. We offer international letters of credit, and we also offer SBA government guaranteed loans.
Now, I know that one of your goals is to promote and build partnerships to serve financial needs in the community. How do you go about doing that? That's a big goal to have.
It is a big goal, and we've worked very hard at helping others find access to capital and affordable financial services. Personally, I work with community development financial institutions. And these are groups that have been in the community for a while, and they have made the small loans on a consistent basis. They know the community. So we make grants to these organizations, and they in turn make the small loans. And then we serve on the loan committees and their boards, and we provide those types of technical assistance services.
Who are some of those committee members? Who are you talking about?
You know, I noticed a couple of those on your website last night. We work with about 7 of those community development financial institutions, but we work most closely with Pacific Coast Regional Small Business Administration, the Los Angeles Local Development Corporation, and Community Financial Resource Center.
Now, we heard Mr. Patton and Mr. Garcia both talk about how they were having a hard time finding a financial institution or a bank to really listen to them, to understand their needs. How do you really get close to the small business person and understand what they're looking for?
Well, that's a good question. Our mantra at Comerica is, we listen, we understand, we make it work. And in both of those cases, and Zeke Patton in particular, we had to listen carefully to how he runs his business. And we had to establish a relationship of mutual trust and integrity. And then we had to keep a sharp eye on community norms and values of where our owners come from. And then we feel we have a fighting chance to find the resources and the answers to the questions that they have about financing.
So you had to work really hard on that patent loan to make it happen.
We did, and he had to work hard too. Yeah.
A lot of times I would think that the small business owners might be overwhelmed, and at the beginning you may have to walk them through it a little bit, but once they get it and get that confidence, they can really be a team player with you.
Absolutely. It is about relationships, and it's a partnership in every sense of the imagination. We try not to make transaction-type loans. We want to make relationship-driven loans.
Now, many people look to the SBA for business loans, and we know that Comerica is a preferred SBA lender. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it means that when you do a good job of delivering services from the SBA, they try to streamline the process for you. And so as a preferred lender, we can turn around a loan transaction more quickly than an institution that is not preferred.
I see. Now, we talked a little bit about how people can be a little bit overwhelmed and shy away from the whole process because it can be intimidating. Is there any helpful hint that you can give a small business owner about how to begin the process and to really kind of jump in? You got to jump in feet first.
The hint that I have is to be open and honest about what you think you need, and then be receptive to the advice that you should be getting from your banker. And that advice includes technical assistance or training, or even advice about seeking information from other institutions that we work with.
Now, sometimes it just doesn't work, but they can come back later. They can keep trying. They can get some things together. Is that true?
That is the beauty of a relationship. Once you establish that relationship, it doesn't stop. Even if Comerica is not able to fund the loan directly or through one of its partners, we stay in touch until there's a time that we find a way to make it happen.
So you have to be persistent and diligent.
You have to be persistent and diligent.
Thank you so much. Good information. Can I have some money now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Here's my card.
Okay, great. Thanks. I appreciate your time. And we'll tell you how you can contact Comerica Bank right after this break. Stay with us.
In praise of the entrepreneurial spirit, Making It is being brought to you by Honda, the power of dreams. By Southern California Edison, for over 100 years, life powered by Edison. And by the Boeing Company.
You can reach Comerica Bank's SBA lenders at 888-259-9786.
And if you have a small business question yourself, or you want to share a business experience, visit the Entrepreneurs Forum on our website. Just log on to makingittv.com, and you can also find information there on how to purchase a copy of today's show.
You know, it was really interesting. A lot of people, when they're starting to finance their small business, they go to family or friends for money, but there's so much out there, from loans to credit cards. You know, there's so much out there.
It's wonderful, and that helps the business get going, and you can make it to the point that some of these other people have made
And
it
you
to.
always pay it back. Always got to pay it back.
You pay back the interest. I don't know about the principal.
That's our show for this week. I'm Lynette Romero.
And I'm Emmett Miller. Thanks for joining us. See you next time here on Making It.
You see, I wear no jewelry. I wear a simple watch, and I have no bling bling. Because when you go call on your banker or your customers, they see bling bling. They figure, why does he need me? He has bling bling. So I don't do any of that. There's no obvious stuff here. I just put the money in the bank. My main thing is banks want you to show that you don't need the money before they give you money.
Hello, I'm Nelson Davis, executive producer of Making It. When you run to the grocery store or out for a quick bite to eat at lunch, chances are you're spending some of your dollars at a franchised business. During the past 30 years, the growth of franchising has literally exploded, with a new franchise business opening every 8 minutes of every business day. Many aspiring business owners choose to begin with a franchise, thinking that that'll make it a little easier and increase their chances of success. Well, today you'll meet franchise owners who share their real-world experiences. Making It. featuring inspiring personal stories of struggle, triumph, and success from America's small business communities.
Hello, welcome to Making It. I'm Emmett Miller.
And I'm Lynette Romero. Thanks for joining us. When many aspiring entrepreneurs begin thinking about opening a business, they first look into franchising. After all, franchises generate $1 trillion in sales annually in the United States. But just because you purchase a franchise doesn't mean you're sure to get a share of those profits.
When Angel and Willie Bonos decided to open up a Gold's Gym in 1980, they both knew they had more to offer than just the well-known name to be successful. Angel had just learned the lesson the hard way. He'd closed their family shoe manufacturing and retail business in Los Angeles after cheaper production in Asia allowed his competitors to sell at a lower price.
And it wasn't the first time Angel and Willie had to start from scratch. In the 1960s, their father was running a prosperous tailoring business in Cuba. When Fidel Castro came into power, the family was forced to flee to America, leaving the business behind.
This time, though, Angel decided he and his brother would be the forward-thinking ones. They crafted their Gold's Gym franchise specifically for the surrounding community in Hollywood. They offered more than just a place to work out. They strived to create an experience that could fill their consumers' specific needs, and it worked. The Bonos brothers have since opened up 2 more Gold's locations with tailored amenities, one in North Hollywood, another one in downtown Los Angeles. And Ziamara Galindo has their story.
My business philosophy is to lead from the front. I've always been a person that attempts to develop my team members and my staff from the front, meaning that whatever it takes to make them successful, I will do for them. If they need me to dig a ditch, over on the side of the road for them to make them successful, that's where you'll find me that day.
Angel, shortly after you were born, your family did some traveling back and forth between Cuba and Miami. Tell us about that.
You know, the world was in transition at that time, specifically Cuba. We came here after the revolution, basically in 1961. Fidel Castro took over the island in 1960. And we knew at that time we just had to leave. The country was just in a lot of turmoil, and a lot of uncertainty. And my family decided to basically vacate the island and come to the United States.
In 1963, your parents were back here in the U.S. having to start all over again. What happened?
We ended up going into the garment business. My aunts had opened up sort of a sweatshop, as they called it in those days, in their garage, actually sewing clothes. And my father and mother both went into it and never looked back. It was a great experience, and that's what made them actually build their fortune here in Los Angeles.
Your family got into the shoe retail business. What lessons did you learn from that?
It gave me a tremendous experience with human beings and human being interaction. So it was, it gave me the foundation to be where I am today with the health club business.
At 19, your brother asked you if you wanted to join him in the family business again. Why did you decide to make the leap?
I had just started out, and what better than to work for yourself if you could? And secondly, what better work if you could work with your older brother, who already has a few notches on you and could teach you all the ropes, which worked out for us. And we started that in 1988.
Why did you choose fitness as a business?
I felt that it was still a retail business. It was still dealing with the public, which is what we were bred with at that time. But it was a service business. And I didn't have to depend on products like I did in the regular retail. The shoe business was dependent upon product. You bought product to sell product. In the health club business, you buy an experience and you sell an experience. And that's what we sell. We sell a fitness experience, which is to me a lot lighter than it was in the shoe business.
Willie, why did you choose Gold's as a franchise as opposed to, let's say, a World Gym or Powerhouse?
Venice was where everybody went to get fit if you were a real bodybuilder. And we thought if we had to purchase a name, what better name than the best in the industry, which is Gold's Gym.
Tell us briefly, how does the gym business work?
The increase in customers that are involved in health and fitness from, let's say, 10 years ago till now is a very small percentage. So what we have to do is develop an experience. Some of our facilities have day spas, childcare, 3 or 4 group exercise rooms to have your Pilates, your spinning, your yoga separated so you can have consecutive classes all at one time. And unlike the old days, Somata, we strive to get our customers to visit the club at least 3 times a week.
What has been the greatest challenge for you in running this operation?
Finding employees that are looking to make your business a career for them and getting them to stay with you and developing them in a way that they can see how they're going to provide and make a living out of this for them and their families in the future.
Both of you brought your retail experience here to the gym business. How has that been effective?
Well, it's effective, Silmana, that again, it goes back to the experience. You come in, and first of all, we have streetwear too, which you can wear on the weekends, and we have active wear that's great to wear not only in the club, but on the street when you're out doing your errands. And it's just a convenience factor, just like our juice bars. And in addition, it does help the bottom line.
Many people find it very difficult to work with family. How do you guys make it work?
Well, once in a while, I got to give them one of these. Just kidding. You know what? We have different job descriptions, and that really is a great. We have different attributes that come to the business. As a CEO of the company, I bring in more of the vision and operational platforms into the company. So I bring in the ideas constantly and bombard them with ideas. And this is the guy that takes it and makes it a reality.
Willie, at the end of the day, what gives you pride?
Right before we're going to open, a few days, but the club's done and ready to go, just gives me a great sense of pride to feel that I was able to be involved with a team and we were able to accomplish this. And it looked as beautiful as it did, and that the customers are going to enjoy it as much as they are.
With all of the hard work and the years that you've put into this business, Angel, what are some of your dreams?
I think for the future, I would like to see my brother come in and just really prosper with it, and he can take the helm at one point, and I would basically step aside or take a chairman role sometime along the line here, and he can just enjoy the moment, because it's we've built a great family business, and I'm very proud of that, and I think it's something that our kids and our immediate family is just very proud of, and we're really enjoying ourselves right now.
Wow, working out in luxury.
I'm telling you, look how beautiful that building
really
is.
nice.
I can't sweat on that
It's
floor.
like a hotel.
It's true. You could eat off that floor. And the Bonos brothers have done so well that they've got an exclusive deal now with Gold's Gym to build franchise locations within 100 miles of their downtown location. And they currently have 3 of those new locations in the works, fully funded by them. No additional partners.
Finding and retaining the best employees is a constant struggle for Angel and Willie, as well as every other business owner. And in today's Secrets of Success, Ed Rigsby of Rigsby Research offers some insights into how to create superstar employees.
I'm Ed Rigsby, President of Rigsby Research, and I've got a success tip for you. Customer service is not the end game, but rather a conduit for delivering perceived customer value. If you want your customers to believe that they're getting the maximum value in doing business with you, the T Master Key from my new book, Customer Service Screw-Ups, Learn from the Mistake of Others, is going to help you. The T in TEA is for training. If you want your employees to have the same emotional ownership in the success of your business that you have, you've got to give them high-level training. And this means more than just teaching them how to run the register. You've got to give them the tools necessary to help customers with their challenges, to solve issues, and especially when you're not there. Do this, and your customers will get high-level perceived value from doing business with you.
And if you'd like to learn how to contact Ed Rigsby or get a copy of his new book, just log on to rigsby.com. And for more advice on achieving your business goals, just visit our website at makingittv.com.
Coming up next, some would call her an unlikely entrepreneur. Born into poverty as the daughter of a tobacco farmer, Ella Avery Smothers has become a highly successful franchise operator, and today she owns 8 Burger King locations. Find out how she did it when we come back.
Supporting the small business community in America. Making It is being brought to you by Honda, the power of dreams. By Comerica Bank. We listen, we understand, we make it work. And by Southern California Edison. For over 100 years, life powered by Edison.
Welcome back to Making It. With more than 320,000 franchise outlets in the United States, the business of franchising is extremely popular and it's sometimes profitable. The franchise industry accounts for 40% of all retail sales in this country. But owning a franchise isn't a sure road to riches. Today, you're meeting entrepreneurs who have waded through many obstacles to operate their franchise business successfully.
Ella Avery Smothers learned about obstacles as a child in Virginia. Her family lived in poverty. 4 of her siblings died because of lack of medical attention. She especially remembers standing in line at the grocery store, watching a woman with a basket overflowing with all of the best food, and she promised herself right then and there, one day she too would be able to buy as many of those groceries as she wanted.
Today, Ella has made good on that promise. By anyone's definition, she's a success, running 8 profitable Burger King franchises in the Los Angeles area. But her prosperity didn't happen overnight. Initially, Ella's biggest struggle was financing. She and her husband saved for 10 years to get $10,000 they needed to open their first Burger King franchise.
The location was less than desirable. It was in an area of Los Angeles riddled with crime, but the couple spent their money and they spent their time to build a strong business, and soon they opened up 5 more Burger Kings, and then there was another setback. Ella and her husband divorced. It was like starting all over again, both personally and professionally.
The couple sold 2 of their locations and they each kept 2. Since then, Ella has focused on growth, seeking out new locations, grooming partners and employees, and enduring the financial strain of several frivolous lawsuits. Xiomara Galindo has her story.
Every time I walk into the restaurant and I see my employees and I see they are happy and they're working, and I know that as long as I can keep the doors open, at least I'm providing a livelihood and a job for these many people. And the reward is coming from knowing that I am doing good in the community.
Ella Avery has rewarded herself well. One of 11 children and the daughter of a tobacco sharecropper, she has risen above her humble beginnings to become the owner of 8 Burger King franchises. How did the opportunity come about to open a Burger King franchise?
Well, it was my husband. I have to give credit to him. He was working for Burger King Corporation as a district manager, and he was able to see the profit and loss statements, and of course Burger King approved him as a franchisee because he was a successful district manager for them.
How were you able to finance the start of your business?
Well, when we came in, there was a special MESBIG program. It was sponsored by the government. I believe President Nixon was the person that put it on. And you could actually start a business with $10,000 if you were a minority. And we were able to get together the $10,000 that was necessary, and we used that in conjunction with the SBA, and were able to get into business.
The entrepreneurial couple's store proved to be profitable so soon that Burger King asked them to rescue a fledgling location in Watts.
When I first went there, we had some problem with gang activity and so forth in the restaurant, and we had to clean that out of the restaurant. And that was the most difficult part. But once we got everything straight, the customers came and they came and they came. And now Watts is one of my very best restaurants. I'm very proud of that store.
After you and your husband divorced in 1992, you each took 2 restaurants and sold 2. How were you able to bounce back?
That's when I learned that I had to open the next restaurants, and I had to buy the land and build the buildings. And that's what I did for the next 2. And they're much better restaurants.
Acquiring store locations isn't always easy. In addition to franchise fees, oftentimes there are tens of thousands of dollars in municipal costs that the franchisee is expected to cover.
We've had to put in fire hydrants to pay for them. Any public improvement in that area, it seems that the business owner who's coming in has that responsibility.
Despite the considerable expense to open a franchise, those visible and those unforeseen, Ella has been able to multiply her business to 8 locations. But there is a key formula she employs to facilitate her success.
You must reward those top employees who are good, reward them well. And you must give them the responsibility of doing the job that they're being paid for. In other words, you have to learn to let them take care of your baby for a while. And that was the most difficult thing I had to learn. You know, I just wanted to be there all the time, but I can't. And I realized that I can't do that.
And though she may have the best trained employees, there are no defense from the high cost of false workers' compensation claims that she's encountered several times over the years.
They don't have to prove it happened. We have to prove it didn't. Now, if we didn't see it happen, which we never do, there's no way we can prove that it didn't happen. And these costs have just escalated so much over the last 3 or 4 years that our premiums are actually higher than the profit of my entire business.
How have all of these cases affected your spirit and business?
Well, at times you can get quite down. But all in all, I still believe that I'm doing a good job of doing service to the community. But my greatest pride came from restoring Rosenwald School, which is back in my home in Virginia, where I come from. It was the brainchild of Booker T. Washington, and it is now both a Virginia and a national historical site.
Ella Avery has come from considerably challenging beginnings to become a business success. Yet what she's most proud of may prove to be surprising to some.
My goal is to always do a job and to do that job well. And I would like to add that I never set a goal of owning 8 restaurants. I set a goal of running Burger Kings and running them well.
But see, she cares so much about the community, too.
Right, and the people that are working for her.
Man, gotta love it.
Well, Ella set another goal of giving back to the community by financially supporting area schools and churches. And soon, Ella's planning to scale back her involvement in the Burger King franchises. She says she thinks she's going to retire.
Oh, that'd be nice. Coming up next, if you've ever thought about purchasing a franchise yourself, stick around. Richard Rennick from the International Franchise Association's in our studio. He'll explain how to do it to you. But first, watch your screen. Here's some information on free online franchise courses.
And here's how you can get in touch with the entrepreneurs you've met on today's show. You can contact Angel and Willie Bonos of Gold's Gym at 213-688-1441. And you can reach Ella Avery Smothers of Progressive Management Systems by emailing her at averysmothers@sbcglobal.net. And now here's Emmett Miller with today's studio guest, Richard Rennick.
And thanks, Lynette. Richard Rennick's the chairman of the International Franchise Association, which is an organization devoted to providing information on the business of franchising. And he's here to talk to you about how you can start a successful franchise, whether it's a restaurant or a service-based business. Richard, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's say I've got a choice. I want to open a small business or I can open a franchise. Why do I want to open a franchise?
Well, first of all, you need to do your due diligence between, do you want to be in business by yourself without the support of some organization like a franchise that may be able to give you brand identity off the bat, that's already went through all the heartaches and pain to make the business successful? Do you want to get involved with an organization that's already proven itself, or do you want to go out and try to invent the wheel again?
And that's a good question. And I'm sure one of a number of questions that you need to ask yourself if you want to be in business, if you want to be a franchisee. What do I ask myself? What do I need to know about me to know if I'm a good franchise operator?
That's a good question. What you need to know about you is what is it that you want? Is it something that you want for yourself? Do you want it for your family? Do you want it for your own personal aspirations? Are you a good business person already? Do you have people skills? Do you have relationship skills? Do you have technical skills that may help you in the franchise that you want to get involved in, or the business you want to get involved in? And do you know where to go to do the research to find that out? Have you done your research through schooling? Have you done your research by going online to look at different opportunities, whether it's franchised or non-franchised? I would say that one of the first things that you need to do is to sit down and do yourself a do's and don'ts. What is it I want in business? Do I want to do it with my family? Do I want to do it by myself? How am I with people? How am I with employees? All these things that you may not know.
Sure, and you need to find out.
You need
and
to find out.
While you're doing that, while you're asking that of yourself, what is the franchisor, the person who's selling you that franchise, be it McDonald's, Burger King, whatever, Singer Sewing Machines, what is it that they need to know about you to know whether or not you're going to be a good franchisor?
Many franchise companies have certain criteria that they ask you to answer to. There's a many-page application, you have discovery days, you have come in and visit the franchisor, and the franchisor goes through an interview process. And this interview process, sometimes the franchisor may give a little survey to see if you might have the skill or the aptitude for this kind of a franchise. Some may just sit there and talk to you, and they may have feelings that this may not be the franchise for you. An example would be is that if you have worked outside for 15 years and you've got enough money saved up that you'd like to be in business, and you decided that you wanted to maybe buy a computer type franchise repair or something.
Sure.
How are you at staying inside of four walls, working with small tools?
They want you to be successful.
They want you to be
If
successful.
you're not successful, they're not successful. That
Absolutely.
franchise is expanding their reach. They're buying partnerships by selling you that franchise. How do they make sure that you're profitable?
Well, they give you all the tools that they've learned from their existing franchise system. They give you all the tools that they've learned to do everything that they can possibly do to prepare you for being successful. The first thing that we always do in my particular franchise business and in many franchise businesses is that we ask the particular franchise candidate to go talk to some existing franchisees within the franchise systems to find out what is it that is good for them. Is it profitable? Is it a good franchise? Does the franchisor take care of you?
Richard, we only have a couple seconds left. What does the International Association of Franchises offer to folks at home that can really help them get started?
Go up to franchise.org. That's our homepage. www.franchise.org has a load of information. You can go up there and find out about franchising from A to Z.
Richard Rennick, wish I had more time. Thanks for joining us. And you can learn more about the International Franchise Association right after this.
The entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well at Making It, which is being brought to you by the Disneyland Resort. You're invited to the happiest homecoming on Earth. By the Boeing Company. And by Sempra Energy, a Fortune 500 energy services company committed to building a diverse supplier base.
And if you'd like to contact the International Franchise Association, call 202-628-8000 or log on to their website at franchise.org.
And you can also purchase a copy of today's show on our website at makingittv.com. And there you can also tap into a number of business resources.
And that's our show for this week. I'm Emmett Miller.
And I'm Lynette Romero. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on Making It.
When you do a job well, opportunities open up. You don't know where they're coming from, but they come. And I feel most rewarded by doing a job well and having people recognize that I do a job well.